candidate, Mr. Dustin Johnson. He is running for Midland City Council at large position. Dustin, I want to give you a couple of minutes just to introduce yourself and let us know about yourself.
All right. For those who don't know, I'm Dustin Johnson. I grew up here in Midland, moved here in '94. Graduated from Midland Lee back in '06, almost 20 years ago. Went to the Navy after that, came back after I got medically separated. Worked many years in news industry and construction, and now I'm just a photographer. Been very active in the skateboarding community for the last 2 decades. Very active with the park out here in Midland. It's one of my big goals. Shoot. Can't think of anything much else. Is anybody has any questions?
Cool. Well, since you want to know about questions, we'll get started. As I told the group, we sent you 5 questions, of which I will ask you 3. And it's just, based on how I feel. I get to make those decisions at this point. I'm the guy in charge, right? All right. So, Dustin, the first question I want to ask you, is how do you plan to address the aging infrastructure of water and sewer, which in some cases is more than 50 years old?
Okay, that's a good one. That's a big must for a growing community. We don't want people having sewage issues. I lived in an apartment years ago, and the sewage coming in was always backed up because there was something tied in with the main line being old. And so I know that has to be more spread throughout the community because that was in a new area. So I know the aging infrastructure is a must, and we need to take care of it. I know that it looks like it's taken forever for all these other projects because it seems like there's not many companies doing the work. And so I would like to open bidding and expand it to bring in more companies so we can get the work done faster, and not have to have like a crew working on one side on one street and then they get halfway through and go to another project and then have to come back, and then the bouncing around that's got to stop. Once the crew starts a job, they need to be there to finish it. We need to bring in other companies to spread the workload out. Light hands make easy work. I really believe in that. Get more people involved, more companies involved, and that should help it. And that could get done in a lot quicker time frame than what it seems like everything's going in.
Good deal. My next question, without question, oil is the lifeblood of Midland's economy. But what would you do to diversify the economy in the downtimes of the oil industry?
Okay, I have two ideas for that. One, utilizing the spaceport we have. We have the businesses that are out there, and we can engineering for oil industry translates really easily over into that. Mechanical engineering does. And so we have tons of engineers that live here in the area. And I think we could totally utilize that aspect in the downtime, and as well as make Midland more of like a shopping hub for like these small communities around here. Let them come here to shop. Like, some of us go to like the outlets in San Marcos and the Dallas area. Let the small communities come here, and that will create more jobs here for the locals during the downtime, and it will bring in money to Midland during that time frame.
Yeah, very good. Let's see. COVID-19 continues to be an issue, although at this time last month, we saw surges in our numbers that were quite unbelievable. And
right.
The trends are lessening here, but as our overall herd immunity rate still is far below where it needs to be. At this time last year, we were at 36%, and I believe Midland is trending right around 50% right now. But they say herd immunity is not reached until we reach 70% vaccination rate. So, with all that said, what do you think is the city council's role, if any, in fighting COVID-19?
Honestly, I think having city council involved with COVID is definitely is getting in the way. Honestly, there would be too many chiefs. We have the president. We have all the coming down, putting these new rules and regulations. And if city council is spending time, hey, they need to do this. That's tying us up from other things we could be doing. We need to leave that to like the business owners. If the business wants you to wear a mask, they should have them disposable ones at the door. It should be up to the business. It should and for the same community. If you want to wear a mask, that's on you. And I know we can't be going around forcing people to put a mask on because that's be causing fights left and right. We don't need that. So it needs to be left up to the individual and the individual business owner. We don't need to have city council coming in and saying, businesses, you have to have mask mandates. Your employees must be wearing masks. That's getting in the way of everything. And so the city council should definitely take a step back in like the COVID relief and that aspect.
Is there anything that you think that the city council should be doing, or is your approach completely hands off?
What do you mean by that?
Well, it sounds like you want city council to have less involvement in how we as individual citizens go about fighting the COVID-19 pandemic,
right?
By allowing businesses to set their own regulations and so on and so forth. Is there anything that you would like to see the city council do?
Definitely. More. I'm very for the vaccines, and I think we should definitely be getting more like vaccine clinics set up where people can go out and get a vaccine if they can get to it. And if like someone like elderly or disabled can't get to that, we should have more outreach to get the vaccine out to the community. But and then also the hospital, if like the hospital needs anything, we could lend a hand that way. But as for businesses and everything else, needs to be hands off.
Okay. I know we said we're going to ask you 3, but our time is just flying by.
And man, it is.
Let me go ahead and I'm going to ask you one more question from the prepared questions that you were sent, and then we'll get to the additional questions. So okay. One more prepared question. The city has delayed the execution of the road bond that voters supported in 2017. How do you feel about the city not following the voting mandate of its citizens?
Oh, honestly, it pisses me off. Like they're taking way too long, and Thompson's been tore up forever. My kids, my boys go right there at Anson Jones. So I'm having to always divert around that road construction. That just plays into what I was saying about bringing in more companies to do the work. If these road crews weren't having to get halfway through a job, go somewhere else. And also, it needs to be engineered a little bit better. We shouldn't be going in, rebuilding a road, going back in, tearing it back up, replacing something. It needs to be engineered so when it is put in and built, it is there to stay for another 50 years. It does not need. It needs to be. There needs to be a lot more scrutiny and engineering involved in it, and then that also would save us money in the long run because we're not constantly having to go back and go back and go back. And that would definitely also help the locals in the community, because say you or me driving down the road and you hit a pothole and you have a blowout. You have to go out. You can't just say, hey, City of Midland, y'all's pothole blew my tire. You have to pay for it. So I think, we're in essence, we're almost being double taxed. You're paying taxes for the road work, and you're having to pay buy a new tire because of a hole in a brand new road. And so in essence, that's almost like a double tax. And so we definitely need to be a lot more minor P's and Q's with our construction work and the engineering behind it, and make sure it's built to last.
Good deal. Mr. Love, can we open it up, and would you like to ask an additional question? Are you able to now, or would you like me to go ahead and? Go to Mr.
No,
Rabb.
I'm driving. Throw that to someone else. Yeah,
All right.
if you don't mind.
Mr. Rabb.
Good evening. Let's see. I have a question for you here.
I'm going.
Mr. Johnson, how do you feel about zero tolerance
Yes,
of abuse of citizens by police? And how do you think that a police advisory board would help?
Yeah, could you repeat that one more time? It got a little bit stacky towards the
Okay,
end.
let's do a two-part. Let's see. It's a two-part question here.
Okay.
How do you feel about zero tolerance of abuse of citizens by police?
I think it should. I don't stand for that one bit. I've had plenty of friends, even my little brother. He had a few different officers that would see him and would constantly they'd be out, they'd find a way to pull him over just to harass him for petty things. So I do not stand for that one bit.
Okay, and how do you think a police advisory board would help?
It would definitely hold them more accountable, because it wasn't just there was a few, it was also, it wasn't just the police department, it was also with state troopers and sheriff's deputies. So it would need to be expanded a little bit more broad, not just the local police, but the law enforcement in the Midland area as a whole.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I will go ahead and ask you another question from here.
All right.
What are your ideas to improve the quality of life for Midlanders, and specifically those in the African American community?
I haven't thought of it in a way to break it down just to the African American community, but as for a whole,
Midlanders as a whole.
yeah, I've thought of it more as a whole. I'm big for being out the parks and in public and being active. And I know it would definitely improve the way of life in Midland if we had better parks, better green spaces, and just to get the community more out and about, get people more interactive. We're not tied up at the houses behind our phones. We're out, enjoying the scenery. I mean, it might not be the best here in Midland, but you're out and you're out. You're out in the sun. It's good for you. I would definitely improve our parks as a whole, because I feel like they've been pick and choosing certain parks throughout the community to upgrade throughout the years, and I've noticed so many that have just been forgotten. And I would definitely start doing a little bit more upgrading of the parks. Not the ones that we already have that have been rebuilt, but the other ones. Tons of I've seen over on the south and east side of Midland. A bunch of those are horrible. Cause I go around on my bike and do BMX and skateboard, so I'm always out in the streets around town. So I see it's pretty bad. And then we have Bill Park. That's one of the biggest parks in Midland, and it's fallen into decrepit. We have a huge amphitheater stage out there. I mean, there's so much potential out there, but it's being wasted. And I feel if we could do anything with that, hell, there's even a cricket field out there. Did you know that? Cricket field in Midland? Yeah, go to Bill Park. There's a cricket field, big bleachers, huge thing, dude. I've never seen anybody there in 10 years. So I mean, if we definitely can improve our parks and walking trails throughout the community, that would definitely improve the way of life here. And then have I spent lots of time in California, and they have you've heard of Muscle Beach in Venice, the big outdoor beach gym. If we could do some things like that around town, because not everybody can afford gym memberships, but everybody can go to the park and hang out with their buddies and pump some iron. Rebuild basketball courts all throughout the city, because that's one of my favorite sports to play with my boys is basketball and my buddies. And there's so many we'll drive around in so many parks. Their courts are just shot. The rims are busted, no nets, just horrible. And so I would get them fixed throughout the community just to get Midland back out. That's how I feel it needs to be going on. So that would definitely, I think, would help with like the herd immunity, getting everybody, out in the public, just being active, and it's good for you, you know, little sunshine.
Yeah, little sunshine never hurt anybody, right?
Oh no.
Good deal. Well, Mr. Johnson, we're right at the end of our 20-minute session. I really appreciate you coming on and your time. Do you have any closing thoughts and statements for us?
I really appreciate y'all and reaching out to me and inviting me to come and speak to you guys. And girls, I don't know if there's any females in attendance. Anything else? Not really. I am hosting a voter registration drive because today is voter registration day on October 16th out at Bill Park on a Saturday. It'll be starting at noon. It's called Shred the Ballot Box, of course, because it's at skate park. But we have the brand new playground, the basketball courts, the dog park. Everybody come on out, man. It's gonna be a great time.
Good deal. I look forward to it and hope that I can attend that event. That sounds like a good time. And I'll make sure I bring my clipboard and help you guys register voters as well.
Heck yeah, man. We might run out of papers.
That's always a good goal to have, right?
Oh man, that's a good problem to have.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, Mr. Johnson, again, thank you for your time. We wish you continued success in your campaign, and we look forward to talking to you again in the near future.